if you subscribe to my Substack page, and you should, uh, hopefully everybody out there watching this video does, andynowicki.substack.com, you'll maybe have read my most recent article, where I meditate on 2015 as a year when the opinion shapers, the social engineers, call them what you will, when they stepped up their campaign and just shot it into overdrive. Now, my entire thesis, which I'm writing an extended piece on, and this what I published at Substack yesterday, is just part of that longer piece that I'm going to hopefully finish up with in the next month or so, is centered around the thesis that political correctness, wokeness, it's gone under many names. We call it wokeness or woke today. That everything that accompanies the notion of woke, of being woke, that this all started up in earnest in 1990, and to me, I see a causal relationship between the end of the Cold War and the starting up of this campaign of what's come to be known as political correctness or wokeness. Now, in 2015, it's interesting to talk about dates that are closer to now. Of course, we can't ignore 2020, and I don't intend to. That's an obvious seminal year for a stepped up campaign. But 2015 is also extremely significant in many ways. When you look at the kind of things that were going down in that year, and I highlight in my article just several things, but one of them is, and it's the one thing that I think they've really had trouble getting traction with, and that is, it was in 2015 that we saw this concerted campaign to normalize pedophilia, to normalize to make us try to think and feel that those who are sexually attracted to children are, we shouldn't shun them. We shouldn't think badly of them. We shouldn't not want them in our lives. We should be tolerant of them, and so forth and so on. That year was when the internet venue Salon put out an article by a, quote, non-offending pedophile, where he sort of makes these kinds of arguments. I've been I know, he says, I know I have this inclination, and but I don't do anything. I don't actually do anything to kids, so you shouldn't think badly of me, and you should and it's wrong that you do. You're wrong, and you should be ashamed of the way that you discriminate against me and people like me, because we're not all monsters, So the idea there is to find this way of humanizing the pedophile by showing us this guy who apparently doesn't act on his inclinations, But it was extremely insidious campaign, because on the one hand, it attempted to disarm the reader by by saying this guy doesn't hurt children. You know, uh, he has it in him to want to do it, but he doesn't do it. So you know, you shouldn't think badly of him. If it's true that he's a non-offending pedophile, then it's good that he doesn't act on his inclinations, and we should, you know, want to help people to be rehabilitated, because I think people become attracted to. I think people have warped or deviant drives, you know, for reasons that I would ascribe to forces beyond the physical. But whatever your metaphysics is, or whatever your wherever you derive your notion of morals and ethics, and whether you are religious or spiritual or not, you know, we can agree, maybe, hopefully, that that this is so, that maybe, you know, there can be some hope for somebody like this breaking free of this this sickness, this thing within them that is warped and twisted, that makes them want to do things that are bad. They're very, very bad to the innocent. But the problem was, if you looked a little closer at this entire campaign, and this was again something that happened in 2015. This was the 2015 was the stepped up time for this, where their campaigns were, all of their campaigns were just turned up to 11, as I put it in the, you know, with the Spinal Tap reference there. You know, they were just sort of cruising for a while. It never went away. You know, people who say that political correctness in the night just was a thing of the 90s, and then it disappeared in the aughts. That's not true. It's always been around, and it was making subtle inroads. That it has been making subtle inroads this whole time, ever, you know, in the 3.5 decades since it was first introduced. Now, it also has provoked a backlash, significant backlash, and I write about that as well. But in any case, returning to the attempted pedophile, the rehabilitation of the pedophiles, you know, trying to do a PR job on behalf of pedophiles. It was through this article, and that Salon, other left-leaning, neoliberal kinds of venues, mostly internet venues, but not exclusively, where they sort of referred to this article, and tried to prevail upon their readers to take it to heart, you know, to not judge these types of people, to not be instantly repelled by people who have that kind of inclination. So to say that it backfired would be an understatement. I mean, it's become notorious, a notorious thing, and even the article was even removed from Salon. You can still read it elsewhere, and I link to it in my own article. But it was never, they never disowned it. They never apologized for it, or said this was tone deaf. We're sorry we did this. We didn't intend for it to have this effect, or there's never been any kind of attempt uh, to backtrack or to qualify what they were saying. They're they're still on the record as being supportive of the sentiment expressed in this article. Now the thing is, they were using the non-offending pedophile, and we don't know that he's actually non-offending. We know that he says that he is, and I guess that there's maybe a record to confirm that he's never been arrested. I'm guessing. He's never been arrested for anything. That doesn't mean we know that he's non-offending. But that's really not the most important thing to take away from all of this. When you examine this whole campaign, this whole pro-pedo, I'll call it, campaign that really got underway in 2015, along with a bunch of other things, a bunch of other stepped up things, stepped up campaigns. You'll see that they're using this non-offending pedophile idea as a wedge. It's a wedge to get us not to like it would be one thing if it was, oh, here's somebody who has these kinds of problems and he's struggling with them, but he wants to be a better person and he wants to do better, and he doesn't want to be this way anymore. If that and if that were the case, and it was around 2015 that the term MAPS was, I don't know if it probably wasn't invented in that year. It had probably been around for a while, but that was the year you started to hear about MAPs, MAPs, minor attracted persons. Something that a term for the same type of person with the same type of inclination, but something that doesn't, a term that has less of a stigma attached to it. So they tried to say they're MAPs. These people are MAPs. Of course, a year later there was all this stuff about a pizza-related map, right, in the Podesta files, but that's probably just a coincidence. But one can't help think of it. You make connections in your mind. So when you looked at these MAP support groups, or these places that people who share this inclination could go together and kind of find others like themselves and bond together, you saw that there was really no effort at rehabilitation. And in fact, the whole idea was, we're fine the way we are. Just like, it's what others in the LGBTQ group generally say. We don't want to change. We're fine the way we are. And, it's one thing if you're a consenting adult and you're talking about other consenting adults. I'm not saying there's moral equivalency. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But there is a difference. There is a pretty clear. There's a shocking gulf that they were trying to bridge there between between people who are attracted to people of their own sex, or bisexuals, and this. This is this is an entire. It may be an inclination. It may be an orientation. These are just words, right? But somehow calling it an orientation was a way to try to solidify it, or to try to legitimize it. And so you saw that even though they were never advocating for I'm trying to be careful with my terminology here, for activity, for adult child actual activity to be legitimized. I mean, if they were to have said something like that just outright, they'd be dead to rights and people would know exactly what they were about. But you saw no language, nothing in their language, nothing in the maps and the map supporters. There was nothing there to say these people are sick, they're twisted, they may mean well, but their inclinations are all wrong, and that's a real significant problem. And people should be careful, or anybody with children should be careful around them. But that wasn't what they were saying. They were, again, you look closer and you saw that within these groups they were basically saying, we are the way we are, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they were just a hair's breadth away from saying there's nothing wrong with the kind of activities that we like or would like to engage in. But society discriminates against that now. So we're not ready for that yet. We're not ready to totally come to all the way out. We're feeding you we're giving you milk right now because you could not handle, just like you give milk to infants before you feed them meat. And boy, is that ever a rough metaphor to use, or an apt metaphor, appalling metaphor, but one that gets to the point, to refer to babies or infants or children in regard to this whole thing. But again, metaphorically speaking, we'll give you the meat, which is there's nothing wrong with what we do. There's nothing wrong with adult-child, interactions. There's no evidence that children are actually harmed necessarily by these kinds of activities. This is the kind of rhetoric that other pedophile apologists have used in the past. You just had to look a little bit more closely to see that was what was going on. That was the wedge that they were attempting to use, and it backfired. I mean, it didn't go anywhere. There was no, in fact, the only thing that came of it really was that it enraged a lot of people, and including people who were readers of Salon and other maybe who generally were liberally inclined or left leaning, but who weren't ready, would never be ready, didn't want to go along with this whole notion. So this was part of the campaign of 2015. Now, maybe I'll talk about other things in other videos. I do recommend, if you're interested, to read my article, see if it resonates with you, see what you think, see if you think I'm right, and if you think I'm off on something or other. It's happened before. Then tell me where you think I got it wrong. But it does seem to me, looking back, that 2015 was an extremely significant year, and I don't know exactly why. I don't know why that was the year when they really started pushing stuff, and where, very disturbingly, they were going after children. We're coming for your children, like the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir sang in a supposedly satirical song a few years later. They were going for our children, and they were doing it consciously, and it wasn't. And saying it isn't scaremongering; it's the facts. So, those are my thoughts, and read my article, and that's it. Thanks for